Have you ever felt like something powerful is living inside you, something magnetic, unexplainable, and deeply rooted, but you can't quite name it? Like you walk into a room and people notice even if they don't say a word. Like strangers glance at you with curiosity. Friends come to you for strength. And deep down, you wonder why. Maybe you don't see it in the mirror. Maybe no one ever told you. But you feel it. A quiet presence. A pull. An energy that sets you apart. You might not know it yet, but you're already more irresistible than you think. The world has taught us that being attractive means fitting into a mold. Perfect skin, perfect shape, perfect smile. But those are surface-level lies. Real attraction, the kind that moves people, the kind that makes others lean in and listen, that comes from within. And if you've ever been told you're too much, or too different, or if you felt like you don't quite blend in with the crowd, it's not because something's wrong with you. It's because something is right, something powerful, and rare. There's a reason certain women captivate a room without saying a word. It's not luck. It's not looks. It's presence. It's self-awareness. It's that deep-rooted calm that says, I know who I am. I know what I bring. You don't have to scream to be seen. You don't have to beg to be chosen. Your energy speaks louder than anything else. Maybe you've been ignoring it, dismissing your own light, telling yourself it's not real. But let me tell you something, the people around you feel it, even when you don't. They notice how your silence holds weight, how your eyes carry fire and softness at the same time, how your laughter stays in their minds long after you've gone. You've been powerful all along. You just haven't claimed it yet. You're not here to be invisible. You're not here to shrink. That feeling you have, the sense that you're meant for more, it's not a fantasy. It's a memory, a reminder. You've always been more than what they see, and it's time to stop waiting for someone else to validate it. Because here's the truth. Being irresistibly attractive isn't about chasing admiration. It's about recognizing the strength you carry in your heart, the wisdom that life carved into your soul, the way you keep showing up even when the world told you to sit down. That's beauty. That's magnetism. That's the kind of attraction that can't be manufactured or sold. It's earned. And you've earned it. So if you've ever wondered why people trust you easily, why they feel safe around you, why they open up even when you didn't ask them to, it's because you radiate something real. You're not pretending. You're not performing. You're living from a place that most people are still trying to find. And that is rare. That is powerful. But here's the thing. When you don't see your own light, you'll keep looking for it in others. You'll keep doubting, dimming, hiding. You'll keep thinking, maybe I need to do more, be more, change more. But you don't. You just need to remember, to wake up, to stop underestimating what you already carry. Because the moment you realize that you've been enough all along, that you've already been radiating confidence, depth, and beauty, everything changes. You stop settling for people who can't see your worth. You stop shrinking to make others comfortable. You start standing in your truth without fear, without apology. And when you do that, the world will catch up. It will mirror what you've finally seen in yourself. Because attraction begins with self-recognition. And when a woman sees herself clearly, when she stops needing permission to shine, she becomes unstoppable. Stay with this truth. Let it sink in. Because by the end of this, you won't just feel more powerful. You'll know you are. You'll see the signs that have always been there. And once you see them, you can never go back. You'll stop asking, am I enough? And start saying, I've been more than enough all along. That is the reward for staying, for listening, for waking up to your own power. Because the most magnetic, irresistible, unshakable version of you is already here, waiting for you to claim her. You don't need to be loud to be powerful. You don't need to be perfect to be magnetic. Real attraction, the kind that lingers in someone's memory, isn't about being everything to everyone. It's about being fully, unapologetically yourself. And when you walk in that truth, you don't chase energy, you are the energy. There's something breathtaking about a woman who knows her worth. Not because she announces it, but because she carries it. Quietly, boldly. Her presence speaks before her words do. She doesn't have to try to impress anyone. She already knows she belongs. That kind of confidence is rare. And it's not built overnight. It's built from every moment she chose herself. Every time she said no when it would have been easier to say yes. Every time she stood alone rather than shrink to fit into someone else's version of who she should be. That's the kind of power you've been growing inside you. The most magnetic people in the world aren't the loudest. They're not the most decorated. They don't walk around looking for validation. They simply show up with clarity, purpose, grace. And when you reach that level of self-possession, when you stop asking the world to define you, you become unforgettable. Think about it. You've met people who are outwardly beautiful but left no impact. Then you've met someone who walked into a room with calm confidence and without saying much, made you feel something. That's what we're talking about. That's the kind of woman you're becoming, or maybe you already are. You just haven't owned it yet. And owning it doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean thinking you're better than anyone. It means knowing that you don't have to become someone else to be seen. You already are someone worth seeing. That's where the shift happens. That's when your energy begins to change, and others feel it instantly. You've likely had moments where someone told you they admired you, or that you inspired them, and maybe you brushed it off. Maybe you didn't think you did anything special, but that's the point. You weren't trying to impress. You were simply being real. And in a world starved of authenticity, your realness is a rare and radiant gift. That's the energy that draws people in. It's not about trying to shine. It's about allowing yourself to shine. It's not about being loud. It's about being rooted, still, present, the kind of presence that turns heads without meaning to. Not because of what you wear, but because of what you carry, your story, your strength, your spirit. You've probably doubted this before. We all do, especially when the world is quick to point out flaws, quick to set impossible standards, quick to compare. But comparison is a thief. It doesn't reflect your truth. It distracts you from it. You were never meant to be a copy. You were meant to be a force. And that force, it becomes undeniable when you finally stop needing to be chosen. When you start choosing yourself, every day, in every room, in every decision. That choice rewires your presence. It quiets the need for external applause. It teaches you to walk tall, even when no one's watching. Here's the deeper truth. People can feel when someone loves themselves. Not the superficial kind, but the deep, steady kind. The kind of love that says, I don't need to perform to be worthy. I don't need to shrink to be accepted. I already am enough, exactly as I am. That level of self-love radiates. It's unshakable. And it's attractive beyond words. The moment you stop trying to convince the world of your value is the moment the world starts to feel it. So yes, you might already be irresistible. Not because of something you do, but because of who you are when you stop hiding. Because of the fire you've walked through. Because of the peace you fought to build. Because of the way you carry both softness and strength without apology. That combination, the balance of depth and dignity, that's what makes you unforgettable. So don't wait for someone else to tell you what you already feel inside. Trust your intuition. Trust the whispers that say you were born for more. Stop underestimating your presence. Start standing in it, boldly, fearlessly, fully, because when you do, when you finally allow yourself to be seen, not the filtered version, not the polished one, but the real you, everything changes. You don't need to chase love, chase worth, chase recognition. Those things begin to find you, not because you begged for them, but because you became the kind of woman who draws them in effortlessly. Stay connected to that energy. Keep listening to that inner voice, because that's not insecurity you're feeling, it's awakening. And the more you awaken to your truth, the more powerful you become. There's something undeniable about a woman who has nothing to prove. She walks differently. She breathes easier. She's not trying to compete, not looking to compare, and not asking for permission to be powerful. She knows that her worth was never up for negotiation. That knowing, deep, unwavering, and quietly fierce is what makes her irresistible. You don't need to change who you are. You just need to return to who you've always been, before the world tried to mold you into something smaller, before they told you to dim your fire, before you started questioning the very things that made you special. The parts of you that were always too bold, too intense, too soft, too strong, those aren't flaws. They're your brilliance. They're the reason you stand out, even when you try to blend in. People can feel authenticity. They might not always understand it, but they're drawn to it. They feel safe around it, inspired by it. And you've got that kind of energy, that unfiltered, untamed essence that doesn't ask for approval, it simply is. And that isness, that presence, is more powerful than you've been told. You weren't meant to fit into the narrow definition of beauty or worth. You were meant to expand it, to walk in rooms and shift energy, to be the reminder that real attractiveness isn't about meeting expectations. It's about breaking them. You weren't made to be everyone's version of pretty. You were made to be unforgettable. And when you stop trying to be liked, something incredible happens. You become loved. Not for what you show, not for what you hide, but for who you are when you're free, when you're done performing, when you finally decide to just be. That version of you, real, raw, grounded, is what people crave, because it gives them permission to do the same. There's a magnetic pull in someone who owns their space, who doesn't need to shrink in conversations, or soften their truth, or apologize for their presence. That kind of self-respect is contagious. It shifts the dynamic. It turns interactions into something more. It awakens something in people, a sense of depth, curiosity, admiration. And that's not because you're trying to be impressive. It's because you're done trying altogether. Let that sink in. You don't have to try. You don't have to perform. You don't have to constantly question if you're enough. You are. You've been enough in your quietest moments, in your strongest battles, in your hardest days. The way you've held yourself together when everything was falling apart, that's a beauty few will ever understand. And yet, it's what makes you unforgettable. Every time you choose yourself, every time you hold your boundaries, every time you speak your truth, you amplify your power. You set a new standard, not just for how others treat you, but for how you see yourself. And when you start living from that place, everything begins to shift. The people you attract change. The way you carry yourself evolves. You stop bending for love and instead become love. You stop chasing worth and instead embody it. That's when you become irresistible, not in a surface way, but in a soul-deep way. The kind of woman people remember, the kind they can't quite define but can't forget, because you're not echoing anyone else. You're not playing a part. You're walking in truth, and that kind of truth speaks louder than any performance ever could. You may have been told you were too much, but let this be the moment you understand. You were never too much. You were too real for a world addicted to the fake. You were too deep for people still swimming in the shallow. And now, you're done apologizing for it. You don't need to be loud to be heard. You don't need to be seen by many to be valued by the right ones. You just need to be aligned, present, honest. That's where your glow lives. That's where your voice begins to rise. Not in volume, but in power, in presence, in peace. So breathe, stand taller, walk slower. Let your eyes speak what your words never have to. You are already walking in a rare energy. You are already sending signals to the world, even if you don't see it yet. And those who can sense it, they're the ones who deserve your time, your space, your spirit. The rest will fall away, the noise will fade. And what will remain is you, clear, grounded, magnetic. Not because you were chosen, but because you finally chose yourself. And that moment, that decision, is what makes everything begin to change. That's when the world begins to respond to the version of you that stopped hiding. Let that be your truth. Let that be your standard. Because once you rise into that level of self-ownership, there is no going back. There is only forward, only freedom, only fire. There's a quiet kind of confidence that doesn't need to be explained. You feel it when you walk into a space and no longer look for approval. You feel it when you stop trying to read the room and start allowing the room to adjust to your presence. That shift, when you stop performing and start existing as your whole self, is when you become magnetic beyond measure. Attractiveness isn't a game of pleasing. It's the result of a deep internal alignment. When your values match your actions, when your words match your heart, when your energy becomes unshakable because it's not rooted in how others perceive you, but in how deeply you see yourself. People feel that. They don't always understand it, but they're drawn to it. This is where the power of boundaries comes in. Not the kind used to shut the world out, but the kind that honors who you are. When you say no to what doesn't serve your peace, you're saying yes to something greater, your worth. That kind of clarity is rare. It tells the world, I know who I am and I'm not afraid to protect her. That's not just strong, that's irresistible. You teach people how to treat you by the way you treat yourself. And when you stop chasing attention, start commanding respect, the game changes. You're no longer in the arena of proving. You're standing in the realm of truth. And truth carries a frequency. A woman living in her truth doesn't beg, doesn't plead, doesn't shrink. She simply exists, and her existence alone makes an impact. The world often rewards those who fit in. But the ones who truly lead, the ones who create waves, are those who refuse to conform. Those who choose to be honest over accepted, bold over comfortable, real over liked. If you've ever felt out of place, it's probably because you were never meant to belong in the shallow spaces. You were meant to lead from depth. Your emotional intelligence, your intuition, your empathy, they are not weaknesses. They are your superpowers. And when you stop masking them, when you start showing up with that depth instead of hiding it, people take notice, because very few are brave enough to live that way. But you are. Being irresistibly attractive isn't about being the loudest in the room or having the most to show. It's about presence. It's about alignment. It's about having a center so strong, the chaos outside of you no longer defines what happens inside you. That energy is captivating. And it's built, not by force, but by consistency. By the daily decision to value your peace, to honor your voice, and to walk away from anything that makes you forget your power. You've likely been through seasons where you had to learn these lessons the hard way. Moments where you gave too much, stayed too long, tolerated too little in return. But those moments didn't break you. They shaped you. They showed you what you're no longer willing to settle for. They showed you what alignment truly feels like. And now you move differently because of it. This is the beauty of self-awareness. When you know who you are, you don't allow the world to redefine you. You stop needing loud applause to feel valuable. You stop allowing temporary emotions to make permanent decisions. You become grounded, not in ego, but in clarity. And that clarity creates space for the right people, the right energy, the right path to find you. You're no longer drawn to drama because peace has become too valuable. You're no longer attracted to chaos because your nervous system knows what safety feels like now. And that calm, that inner stillness, it speaks volumes. It tells the world, this woman knows herself. And when a woman knows herself, she becomes untouchable in the best possible way. You don't need to chase closure, chase answers, chase attention. You are already complete. You're already carrying everything you need inside you. The question now isn't whether you're enough. It's whether you're ready to fully own the power that's always been there. And if you are, everything changes. Because when you stop waiting to feel worthy and start living as if you already are, the universe mirrors that back to you. Opportunities shift. Relationships shift. Even the way you see your reflection changes. You begin to carry yourself with a softness that's unshakable, a strength that's gentle, a glow that doesn't need a spotlight to be seen. This is what happens when you stop performing and start being. When you stop trying to impress and start allowing your truth to lead. There's no faking this kind of power, no pretending, no filter needed, just presence, just honesty. Just you, raw, radiant, and real. And the world, it takes notice. Because real always rises, always resonates, always leaves a mark. You're not just attractive, you're awakening. You're stepping into the most authentic version of yourself. And that version? She's not here to ask for a seat at the table, she's here to build her own. You don't have to raise your voice to be powerful. You don't have to be the loudest person in the room to be the most unforgettable. True power whispers. It shows in the way you hold your gaze, in the calm that follows you, in the silence that feels like presence, not absence. There's a different kind of strength that lives in quiet confidence. The kind that doesn't chase attention but commands it effortlessly. When a woman knows she doesn't have to prove anything, everything about her shifts, her posture changes, her words become fewer but heavier, her energy does the talking. People feel it before they hear it. It's not arrogance, it's not pride, it's certainty. And certainty is rare. That's why it's magnetic. There's a sacred kind of beauty in knowing who you are and being unwilling to compromise it. It doesn't come from ego, it comes from growth. From experience, from the deep, sometimes painful journey of choosing yourself again and again, even when it would have been easier to settle. That decision, to stay aligned, to keep your integrity, to honor your own rhythm, is what sets you apart. It's what makes your presence feel like truth in a world full of noise. People notice a woman who doesn't flinch when others project their doubts onto her. They notice a woman who doesn't react out of insecurity, but responds from clarity. That kind of emotional control isn't cold. It's composed. And in that composure is a quiet fire. The kind that doesn't need to burn loudly to be felt. The kind that warms everything it touches and burns through anything that tries to dim it. You weren't meant to beg for love or attention. You were meant to be so deeply rooted in your own self-respect that anyone who steps into your space rises just by being near you. Because that's what real feminine power does. It elevates. It doesn't compete. It doesn't chase. It simply is. And in being, it transforms everything around it. If you've ever been told you were intimidating, understand this. Intimidation is often just someone else's discomfort with your boundaries, your standards, your self-worth. Don't water yourself down to make others comfortable. Your strength is not a threat, it's a mirror. It reflects back to others what they haven't yet faced within themselves. That's not your burden to carry. That's your gift to hold. You become truly irresistible when you stop shrinking your light to fit into spaces not built for your radiance. When you stop waiting for someone to choose you and instead choose yourself over and over again. You become magnetic when your peace is your priority. When your energy isn't scattered trying to be liked, but focused on becoming the most authentic version of who you were born to be. Attraction isn't about being perfect. It's about being real, being present, being deeply in tune with yourself, the way you honor your emotions, the way you listen to your intuition, the way you protect your time, your space, your dreams. That creates a gravitational pull far greater than any external beauty ever could, because beauty fades, looks evolve, trends change. But what never goes out of style is self-awareness, emotional maturity, a grounded, gentle kind of strength that says, I know who I am, and I will not shrink for anyone. That presence leaves a lasting impression. That presence is what people remember when the conversation is over, when the room empties, when the noise fades. You weren't meant to be consumed. You were meant to be experienced. Not everyone will understand your depth, and that's okay. Not everyone deserves access to it. The right ones won't feel overwhelmed by your intensity. They'll feel awakened by it. They'll rise to meet you there because energy never lies. And the energy you carry now, it's evolved. It's mature. It's magnetic. You're not just walking through life anymore. You're moving with intention, with purpose, with clarity. Every decision you make from that place creates momentum. Every boundary you set creates space for alignment. Every time you choose peace over chaos, truth over performance, love over fear, you're stepping deeper into your power. And that power doesn't need to be flaunted. It needs to be lived, embodied, felt in every breath, every step, every word. That's what makes you irresistible. Not a performance, not a role, but the undeniable presence of a woman who's found her truth and refused to let it go. This is what it looks like to glow from within. This is what it feels like to be rooted in self-love so deeply that nothing outside of you can shake your foundation. And when you live like that, everything you attract starts to change. Because now, you're not asking for anything. You're radiating everything. So keep walking in your light. Keep protecting your energy. Keep showing up as the version of you that doesn't need validation to feel valuable. Because that version of you, she is rare. She is rising. And she is already enough. Some women enter a room and don't need to say a word for people to notice them. It's not the clothes, not the smile, not the way they carry their bag or tilt their head. It's the presence, that powerful, rooted presence that says, I know myself. I trust myself. I am not here to perform. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. It's the energy of someone who's done the inner work and now walks in full ownership of her worth. And it's in that quiet confidence where true attraction is born. Because real beauty doesn't compete. Real beauty doesn't try to outshine. It simply glows, naturally, effortlessly, from within. When a woman lets go of needing to be chosen and starts choosing herself, her energy changes, her vibe elevates. She doesn't chase. She doesn't convince. She knows that anything meant for her will never need to be begged for. That understanding makes her untouchable in the most graceful way. You become unforgettable the moment you stop shrinking to fit expectations that were never designed for your highest self. You were not born to be small. You were not created to stay silent. There is a fire in your soul that was meant to light the way, not just for you, but for others who are still learning how to rise. And that fire? It becomes undeniable when you finally stop dimming it for comfort. You don't have to be aggressive to be assertive. You don't have to raise your voice to make an impact. You just have to be rooted.